צהריים טובים לכולם, תודה שהצטרפתם להרצאה השנייה היום. זה בעצם יום שמתמקד בנושא של חדשנות וחידושים במדע פתוח. I would like to present our speakers for today. Antonia, I hope that I'm going to pronounce your last name correctly, so forgive me if I'm not. Antonia Correia is an information specialist for European projects such as Pattern, On Merit, and Foster Plus at the Scientific Information Management Repositories and Open Science Office at Minho University in Portugal. Working for Foster Plus project, she coordinated the Portuguese translation of the Open Science Training Handbook and collaborated in the Open Science Training Toolkit. She has extensive experience working in academic libraries and supporting researchers in scientific publishing, visibility, and evaluation. She is currently a PhD candidate in education. She integrates the open air and Portuguese communities of practice for training coordinators and participates as a trainer in the open air, open science, train the trainer bootcamp. So please, Antonia.
Well, so thank you so much for the introduction, and welcome all to this session. I hope it will be interesting for you. So today I will start sharing my presentation. Today I'm going to speak a little bit on responsible metrics and open science, and to start, I would like you to ask you to access the Mentimeter, access menti.com with this code 43300815, and or you can just scan the QR code here in this screen. And I would just like you to answer this first question and also the second to understand what is your profile. So we have about 50 participants today here. So I would like to know a little bit more about you, and also to understand what is your knowledge of some of the topics that I will be talking about. So I will share the screen of the Mentimeter. So please access this code and answer about the profile. If it's other, it's another. So we have for now 2 principal investigators, 2 researchers, and 13 librarians, and many others, other profiles. Okay, I'll just wait a little bit more for some more answers. So 1 science manager, 2. So 14 librarians, so 1 more answer for librarian. We have many librarians here. Yes, and others. Okay, maybe we can go to the other slides. And, oops. And I would also like to ask you, what is your knowledge level of open science, scholarly publishing, research assessment, and bibliometrics, or just metrics? So rank from 1 to 5, 1 is low and 5 is high. So we have 5 answers for now, 6, 8. So I think we are in the middle of the chart, so people know more about scholarly publishing and open science, but they also know a lot on research assessment and bibliometrics, which is great. So we will have interesting discussions in this session. Okay, I will go on. You can go on also with your answers. So this will be open. So please, if you would like to answer to the Mentimeter, just join menti.com and use the codes 43300815.
Yes, and you can have the link in the Zoom as well, in the chat, sorry, as well.
Yes, yes. Maybe we should share again for the people who join later. I don't know if they are really, if they can see the link that was presented before. Okay, so going on to my presentation. So usually I will start to talk about the metrics that are usually used to assess individuals. And usually these metrics are the publication counts. And this is how many articles, this can be the number of articles the author published in his lifetime or in a specific period of time. For example, the last 2 years, the last 5 years. This can also be citation counts. The number of citations per article, per number of articles, or within a time period. But these are quantifiable measures, but they rely a bit too much on quantity and not so much on quality. So they don't assess the quality of the publications. And for example, the citations can also be for bad reasons, or even articles that are retracted can also get citation counts, but they still count as citations. And this is not a qualitative measure. This is just a quantitative measure. And the evolution of academy has been in this publish or perish reasoning. Well, people just needed to publish some years ago. Then pressure on publishing became harder, and this publish or perish became the rule. And then it was published in high impact journals. And then you have to publish frequently in high impact journals, and maybe you don't perish. So this is a cartoon, but unfortunately, this is the reality for many of the people in academia, because these counts and these measures are used for progress in career, for hiring decisions, and so on, and also for grants. So this has an impact on the quality of the publications, of course, because that leads for some people to do some malpractices, like slicing the publications, which means instead of doing one bigger article, they divide the content into 2 or 3 articles so that they have more articles published to face the publication counts. So this has led to some malpractices, and also to a high pressure on the academics to publish a lot. Another measure that is used for assessing individuals is the H-index. So in the H-index, a scientist has an index of H if he or her number of papers have at least H citations. This was published, this is a paper by Hirsch, 2005. And this means that for example, if the H-index is 5, so at least 5 papers have 5 citations. But this is highly variable because this will vary based on the data set that is being used for measuring. It will depend. It will be different if you use the Web of Science or Scopus or Google Scholar, and there is no weighting on the individual author's contribution to the articles. So it is indifferent what this person has done to contribute to the article. If he had a higher or a lesser contribution, he will get the same counting. And again, the citation counts do not equal the quality of research. So it's different. This is just quantitative again. The H-index has been widely spread and used excessively. And this led to the CWTS, which is based in Leiden, is the Center for Metrics. And they even did this infographic, the HALT, the H-index, stating the problems with this way of measuring. So it leads to unfair comparisons because it favors researchers with longer careers. Of course, a senior researcher will have a higher H-index than a junior researcher. And it also favors researchers in publication and citation dense fields. This means that, for example, researchers working in science and technology will have higher H-index than other researchers working, for example, in humanities, because the citation practices are not so dense. It also rewards bad publishing and referencing behavior. So putting your name on many papers, even if you didn't contribute much to these papers, also self-citation, or asking other colleagues to cite your papers. So these are all bad behaviors, but still they lead to a higher H-index and higher publication counts, and they are being promoted this way. And it also rends important contributions invisible, like the leadership, the collaborations, the teaching skills, and research quality. So these are all problems, and so that's why this should not be used to evaluate people. Another metric that we always hear a lot about is the journal impact factor. And I will stress the journal here because this was created as a tool for management of library journal collections. So this was created for librarians, for them to assess journals they would buy for the library's collection. So this was not intended to be used as a measure or a proxy of performance for individual papers or for authors. In reality, and this is the way it is calculated, there is the 2-year journal impact factor and also the 5-year journal impact factor. But both of them are being misused to evaluate individual papers and authors. So if authors can achieve to get a publication in one of these journals. But this also leads to a few journals people always trying to publish in the higher impact factor journals, which is also not good because it is distorting the publication scenario and leading to these journals having a higher and higher impact factor, but this is being inflated because everybody is trying to publish in those journals. This also can be manipulated. Self-citation also has a place here, and the if citation. I will cite you if you cite me. So this is the if citation. And also, it also leads to authorship issues because people try to be listed as authors or get gift authorship, even if they don't contribute much, and splitting the outputs into many articles and favoring certain types of outputs and publications, and cartelization, which is journals citing other journals. So this has led to many malpractices in the scholarly publication scenario. Other thing that we always hear about is trying to publish in indexed journals, and these are journals that are part of one of usually these two databases. There are other indexes, of course, but these two are the main, I would say, the main indexes that people try to get into in these journals. So is the Web of Science and Scopus. So these databases, they list some journals, but of course they don't have all of the journals that exist. So they have their own quality criteria for integrating and content criteria for integrating the journals in these lists. And they also delist journals if they consider that they are not acceptable for any reason, for example, for malpractices that they detect. And also these databases are also used to calculate the impact factor or the site score, which are measures for impact of the journals. But as they don't have all of the journals, of course, this is going to be skewed. It's going to be a very narrow perspective of the publication landscape. And these are also subscription-based databases. So this means that if you don't pay to access them, you cannot access the content, and you can also not reuse the content that you get from these databases. For example, if you are doing a bibliometric study, you can just download some parts and try to do your studies, but this is not transparent and this is not clear, and it's not open to everybody. What's something else that people also aim to publish in is high quartile journals. So the quartiles, this means that they exist for a subject topic. So for example, agriculture, these two databases, Clarivate and the Simago and the Scopus, they have the journals listed into journal topic classifications. And within this classification, they have the top first quartile, then the second quartile, the third quartile, and the fourth quartile. Of course, any quartile is good because they are already listed in these databases. But if you can publish in quartile 1 or quartile 2, usually this is more valued in the studies and also in the assessment of the person's publications. And this is also not good because it's even skewing even more the number of journals that people are trying to publish in. And also the thematic journals, lists of journals. For example, in business, it's usual for people to advise lists of journals and also sometimes give prices for publication in certain journals. So these are all practices that exist that lead to the prevalence of articles above other types of publications, such as books. which are longer and more difficult to publish and take longer to write. And this has also led to the distortion of metrics, the cartelization, the self-citation, etc., and the prevalence of some areas of knowledge over others, like the prevalence of the science and technology and medicine over the social sciences and humanities that have other outputs and other types of contributions. And this has also led to the prevalence of English above other languages because these citation databases, they value more if the publications the articles are in English than if they are from regional content and regional languages, national languages other than English. And as you can see here on the right, so the published articles, they are just the tip of the iceberg, because you have many other outputs such as preprints, data, software, derived data sets, raw data sets, protocols, notebooks, etc. So there are many other types of outputs that people usually produce within their research that are not being considered for evaluation. And if we compare this to the open science principles, and the fundamental principles are that it's available and free, accessible, and usable, and so on. So you have the accessibility versus the closed databases, subscription databases for journals, and also the Web of Science and Scopus. And you cannot reuse the data sets. There is a lack of transparency in those listings of journals. And also there are conflicts of interest that are not obvious. And so this is all very difficult to assess. So having all of this in consideration, in 2012, there was this San Francisco Declaration on Research Assessment. Usually it's called the DORA Declaration. And as a general recommendation, it was that people should not use journal-based metrics such as the journal impact factors as a sole measure of the quality of individual research articles, or to assess an individual scientist's contributions, or in hiring, promotion, or funding decisions. And this has been signed by many, many individuals and institutions all across the globe. And to add to this, there are some recommendations also for funding agencies and institutions, like, for example, expliciting the criteria used for evaluation, the scientific productivity, and put more emphasis on the content, value and impact all research outputs. For publishers, reduce the emphasis on the journal impact factor as a promotional tool. Of course, this is very convenient for the publishers, but it's not so good. And also produce a range of article level metrics, foster responsible authorship practices, and put no limitations to reuse of contents. And for organizations that supply the metrics, it is asked that they provide the data with openness and transparency, and the methods also to calculate the metrics, and provides the data under a license that allows reuse and provides computational access to the data, and to be clear in all of the processes, and that the misuses will not be tolerated. Building up on this, the Leiden Manifesto appeared in 2015, and this was done by a group of people from Leiden University and the CWTS that I mentioned earlier. And they are scientists, scientometricians. So this is a manifesto that relies a lot on the metrics and the way that metrics were being misused. So what they say is that as scientometricians, social scientists and research administrators, we have watched with increasing alarm the pervasive misapplication of indicators to the evaluation of scientific performance. And they give examples like the universities, positions on global rankings, the researchers with the citations and the H-indexed, and the PhDs which are facing a pressure to publish in high-impact journals without having sometimes the means to do it. And they accompany this Leiden Manifesto with a roadmap to guide the researchers and the evaluators to best practices in research assessments. And the first measure, of course, is to use quantitative evaluation to support the expert evaluation, but also measure the performance in accordance with the research missions of the institution, protect the excellence in research, keep the data collection and the processes open, transparent, and simple, evaluate with people and allow people who are being evaluated to verify the data and the analysis, account for variations in field of publication and citation practices. This is to address the differences in the different disciplines. Also assess the individual researchers using qualitative judgment of their portfolio, avoid misplaced concreteness and false precision, recognize systemic effects of assessment and indicators, and scrutinize the indicators regularly and update them. So these are the advices into doing research assessment in a better way. Also, in 2017, there was this report on evaluating research careers, fully acknowledging open science practices. And again, the problems with research assessment tried to be addressed with this by providing a customized matrix they called OSCAM. And in this matrix, each university should have these templates for the different disciplines like life sciences, social sciences, humanities, engineering, and so on, and decides on what is more valued and what should be the criteria for evaluating people. Also acknowledging different contributions, like also the research outputs, but not just the articles, other research outputs, the processes, the service and leadership, the research impacts, and teaching and supervision. And this is more detailed here. So as you can see, the research outputs may be also data sets, open source, funding, etc. And the processes, there is a high stress on engagement with the citizens and the social society, collaborations, research integrity, and so on. Also, the service and leadership applies to service within the institution, like academic standings, networking, and leadership in the institution. Also, the research impact, like communicating and dissemination the knowledge, creating patents and knowledge exchange, and etc. So all of this can be used to evaluate the researchers and not just the number of publications. So this is much richer and gives a broader picture of what the researchers are doing. And in 2019, and this was came out of World Congress on Research Integrity, the Hong Kong principles were also issued. And here, Open Science also has a good yes, importance in this. So it's really valued the contributions. So especially in Principle 3, where the practices of open science, such as open methods, material, and data, should be valued. But also, there are many research integrity here, input here. So assess the researchers on responsible practices from the conception to the delivery of research. Value the accurate and transparent reporting of all research, regardless of the results. And this means, for example, reporting null results, which is very important for people to know, so they don't waste time and money doing something that somebody has already tried and didn't get any results. Also value a broad range of research and scholarship, such as replication, innovation, translation, synthesis, and meta-research. And, of course, other contributions, such as peer review for grants and publications, and so on. So this has a high focus on integrity and valuing also other contributions to the research that people usually already do. And on the language issue, there have also been some initiatives, and this Jussieu call on bibliodiversity is an example. And it says that there should be a diversity in services and platforms, in funding mechanisms and evaluation measures that allow to accommodate different workflows, languages, publication outputs, and research topics. And so this is not just about the language, it is also about the research topics and the workflows and all that is part of the work of the researchers. So building on all of these movements and initiatives and declarations, and in 2021, there was this report from the European Commission that was called Towards the Reform of the Research Assessment System. And it acknowledged the problems with research assessment and started the discussion on how to reform the research assessment system within the European Commission and the European Commission members and institutions. And so there was this public discussion on this document that was in the website where people could access the call for expression of interest to join this reform, and could also comment on this document and give advice on or suggestions on how it could evolve. And in June 2022, there was this communication on research assessment and implementation of open science by the Council of the European Union that reiterated the need to advance a concerted effort towards the reform of various research assessment systems, acknowledging open science processes and being improved by them. And here we, from this, the COARA agreement was issued in July 2022, and it was already signed by many institutions. So the COARA is this this has this agreement and these commitments that more than 500 institutions already signed, and they commit to recognize a diversity of contributions to research and in accordance to the needs and natures of the research, base the research assessment primarily on qualitative evaluation, for which peer review is central, and this should be supported by responsible use of quantitative indicators. The institutions also commit to abandon inappropriate uses in research assessment and journal and publication-based metrics, in particular, the inappropriate uses of the journal impact factor and the H-index, and so on. So the institutions that sign this coalition for advancing research assessment, they commit, and more than 500 organizations have already signed, they commit to doing a reform on their research assessment systems, and within a year or until 2027, depending on when they adhered the Correia and signed the agreement. And many of these institutions are already doing this and implementing different ways of assessing the researchers and their contributions. So this is difficult. So we've come to a point where we understood that quantitative evaluation is not enough, but it's difficult to progress and to understand how we can change. And the main obstacles for this are, of course, it's more effort. So it's easier just to ask somebody to tell us how many publications they have, which is their H-index, and compare. But it's more difficult to evaluate qualitatively the people's contributions, and very different contributions from different people, for example, in a hiring process. And of course, there is the inertia and the old habits that people are used to this. This is the way they do it for a long time, and this is what they know, so it's difficult to change. And of course, there are some competition issues that people need to address. For example, if an institution, a university understands they need to change, but if they completely abandon the old ways and all of the other institutions in the same country don't, they may be in a weaker position competing with each other. So this has to be a concerted effort, and the more institutions need to adopt this and to understand the advantages in changing. So how can we do this? So one way to do this is the resume for research, or the narrative CVs. This was one of the first things that appeared. So how can people state what they are doing? How could the CVs be built for the professors and for the researchers? So these give tips on what people should tell in these CVs. So how have you contributed to the generation of knowledge? How have you contributed to the development of individuals, to the research community, and to the broader society? And there are also some guidelines like this report on how to use narrative CVs that try to train the reviewers and the applicants and the staffing to improve consistency in the evaluation process. But this is a working process. So many, there are some institutions and some guidance for templates and reviewer guidances and so on. So how should the reviewers behave? how should the applicants state their knowledge and their contributions to science. But of course, this is happening now, so we don't have all of the answers. DORA website, so the Declaration of San Francisco has a website where they list many important resources, and I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 of them in the next slide. So this is the ideas for optimization of the narrative CVs. So 5 things to consider to optimize, evaluate, and iterate on the use of narrative CVs. So start small, check the objectives, monitor and promote equity, and embrace experimentation. So this is for the reviewers. Also, some good examples on people implementing these different ways of evaluation. And this is from the Netherlands, the Room for Everyone's Talent. They advise on diversifying the career paths, focusing on quality, achieving balance between individuals and the collective, stimulating open access, and stimulating academic leadership. There is also this initiative, the Space to Evolve Academic Assessment, that tries to guide the institutions that want to start implementing a different way to evaluate the researchers. And of course, the SCOPE framework that has these 5 letters that give you ideas on how to do this. So start with what you value. What each institution values is different. So this has to be aligned with the mission of the institution and with the values of the institution. Then give context and ensure that the evaluation is context specific and that is appropriate for the people that are being evaluated. Then the options for evaluating the both quantitative and qualitative options, and be careful with the quantities. Then evaluate with the evaluated, so, and probe deeply who can we be discriminating, if this can be named, what might be the consequences, and so on. So this gives a good guidance on some possible biases and some things that could happen within the evaluation process. And also this other resource, Building Blocks for Impact. And this gives examples of what could be impact. For example, real world societal examples, cultural, patient, community, and so on, industry collaborations. Then it has these scales of influence, the magnitude, the collaborative and advisory roles, and the direct contributions, and then applies to disciplinary or field-specific audiences, institutional and other contexts, so external to the academia. And of course, all of this could be, you can look at this later on because there is a lot of things to see. And this is also a guidance for research evaluators that gives 6 practical tips on fostering a more holistic evaluation process. So align the decision-making to the strategic objectives, be clear about the context, look abroad instead of narrow to capture the full range of the contributions. Be aware of unintended biases like the gender, ethnicity, seniority, affiliation, discipline, and others that can arise from scientific and cultural stereotypes. Foster personal and group accountability for these research assessments. And if you are, if you are not sure, if you have a conflict of interest, So ask the funding institution for guidance. And there is a video also that is available through this QR code that explains this with more detail. And to finish, so this example of the University of Ghent, they have this web page where they list the career path and evaluation policy for the professional staff. And they have many, many details and how the whole process is led, and many minutes on what could be an evaluation report, a reflection report, the integration text, these portfolios. So all this guides the researchers on what they should provide to be better evaluated, and is completely clear and transparent on how this is done within the university. And they also signed the COARA agreement. So they are already provided their plan for reforming the research assessment. And this is public within Zenodo collection. So to finish, I would also like to advise this resource library from DORA website, and they have many resources there that you can get inspiration from, and also this Zenodo collection of action plans from the institutions, the signatories from COARA. So I reached the end. I'm sorry, because I took a bit longer than I was expecting. I see some messages here on the chat, but you can unmute also if you want to ask something.
You want me to read you the question, or?
I'm trying to catch up. Okay. So it seems that there is agreement on having good intentions, but what are the practical evaluation tools and methods offered? What about standardization between universities and countries? Yes. So this is what I was talking about in the end of the presentation. So the practical evaluation tools and methods can be the narrative CVs, and also some tools that I also talked about, like those, the scope methods and how you can evaluate. So of course, this the standardization between universities and countries is a bit difficult. So we are having some standardization from the signatories of the COARA agreement, because there is this commitment that they should follow when they sign the agreement. So this provides some standardization, but of course this differs a lot depending on the university, and depending on the aims and scope and the vision and the mission. So this can be different. This should be different from university to university, although there could be some resemblances, but this is a unique process. And so, of course, this is a lot more, takes a lot more time, and it's more difficult to implement.
Yeah, and I would mention another issue before you continue is that
yes,
in Israel, the funding of the state to university are based on where you publish, how much you publish, and so on. So it's not just in the university level, it's also in the government level when they will need to develop new ways to give funding.
Yes, of course, this depends, because here in projects financed by European Commission, there is this push for open science, and there is this push now for reforming the assessment and for also national funders to adhere. And for example, here in Portugal, our national funder is a signatory of COARA, so it's easier, of course, for Portuguese researchers and institutions, universities, to also follow this guidance, because this is being promoted by the most important funder in Portugal. But I understand this is a lot more difficult if the funder is still requiring the, let's say, traditional way to evaluate research. Yes.
There is a comment, narrative CVs can be quite easily written by AI
applications. Yes, the AI applications. Well, this can also be monitored, and of course, people should be aware that it can be tracked if people use the AI application to write the CVs. But this is not, I would say that if it is used with precaution, and if you use AI for a small section or to improve something, I would not say you cannot do it, right? Just cannot trust AI to do the whole work. And of course, you probably should have talked about that in the previous section. But AI can help, but AI should not be trusted to do the whole work. And of course, this cannot be done by anybody else than the researcher. And if the researcher has the work to provide all of the information to the AI tool, it could probably easily just write the CV himself, because if you want a good application written by the AI, you need to provide all of the information that you want to give, right? So you could probably do just writing yourself.
There is Luba asks, what is the influence of the open access publishing practices on the bibliometric analysis? Should the bibliometric indicators be updated according to the changes revealed? Sorry, I have something here that...
Yes. I can also see the question revealed by the open access publishing practices.
Okay.
For example, how can we measure if the leading journals keep their high reputation when most of the articles are APC paid? Well, what can I say about this? There are some initiatives, namely on open citations, that they derive from these closed databases for doing the bibliometric analysis. So what I mean by this is, well, usually people just took the data sets from the Web of Science and or Scopus to do the bibliometric analysis. But there are some tools that can be used to do bibliometric analysis, and they are open and open science tools and websites. For example, the OpenAir graph. This is done by OpenAir. OpenAir harvests the institutional repositories, the main journals and databases and so on. So it's much bigger than the data set from the Web of Science, for example, and it's free, and it's available on Zenodo, and it's usually updated. I think it's from every 2 months it's updated on Zenodo. So people can, there is even an interactive tool that people can play with, which is a smaller data set if they want to do bibliometric studies. And they can use this open data set, which is much bigger and has much more resources and types of publications and so on. They can use these open data sets to do the analysis. And so this is the direct impact of open science in the bibliometrics field, right? Even if you do publications counts all the same, at least you are using a bigger data set to do these countings. And you will be addressing different outputs also, because you also have data sets, you also have software, you have other types of contributions other than just the articles to this analysis. So I hope I understood the question correctly, but please tell me, Lubak, if this is what you were asking and if my answer was addressing your question.
No, I just actually I wanted to ask. I know that there is no answer, but I think that the indicators should be updated because the submission practices are changing for the journals. Commercial publishers are interested to publish more and more articles because it's APC paid. The payment is per article, not per subscription to the journal. So this practice may be, there is an impact on the quality of submissions, and peer review processing is changing. It's publishers' pressure to the editorials to accept more articles. So how can we and we are continuing to use the same indicators for journals assessment and journal evaluations. So we don't, and all these changes are not taken into account in the analysis, in the bibliometric analysis, and using the same indicators. So the question is if there should be new indicators or updated indicators to evaluate the journals, for example, or
yes, what I can tell you is that, well, the scholarly community is really taking care of some of those things. So, for example, if you know the Retraction Watch, the website, so they usually list, and the PubPeer website also, they usually check the quality of journals, the quality of articles. There is this dialogue between the scholarly community, and this many times leads to delisting some of the journals. I was recalling an article that I read, and for example, last year the Web of Science delisted more than 50 journals from their master list. And this happens, and some of them, for example, from MDPI, and I think it was from Frontiers too, some of them were delisted exactly because of that, because of too many articles, the peer review process being overlooked. And so the quality was compromised. So they just delisted these journals from the Web of Science master list. And so what we need here, maybe it's, I would not say update the indicators. Do we really need indicators? Yes, we still need indicators, but this is why we need other measures to evaluate the people's contributions. So I think the community, the scholarly community, the researchers, both as the publishers, are trying to address these problems with APC and paper mills and so on. And there is kind of a natural regulation, I would say.
Regulation.
Yes, but also as evaluators, people should look for other things other than the publication counts. So the publication counts should not count so much as they do. The percentage of what they count in the evaluation should be lowered. So there is gambling of these metrics, and I think there will always be gambling of the metrics. This is not so impactful for the researchers. So, but this is my opinion. Okay, this is my personal opinion.
Thank you.
I have I think one last question because we ran out of time. Is there any organization that monitor the adoption of the new practices that you mentioned in academic institutions?
I think COARA is doing it for the signatories. I looked for Israel, but I didn't see any any signatories from Israel in COARA. I hope I didn't overlook any institution, but probably if the funder is still asking for the same metrics, maybe that is why. So maybe this, I hope this was helpful into giving some perspective on how evaluation could be done differently or addressing other topics other than just quantitative topics. But I think the European Commission and COARA for the signatories, and some of them are not just from Europe, there are signatories from globally, from other areas of the world. But aside from that, I don't think there is anybody supervising. Yes.
Thank you, Antonia, for a very, very interesting presentation.
No, thank you.
Open our eyes to a brand new topics. So thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you so much for the invitation, and it was a pleasure to give this presentation. And you have my contacts, so if you need anything, I'm available. Okay, so thank you all for the attention and
thank you.
This.